The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
On this vote, the ayes are 213 and the nays are 209. With 6 answering present, the resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order. I'll wait.
This was the scene last night at the U.S. Capitol as Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy passed the resolution along party lines censuring California Representative Adam Schiff. He was censured as a part of a retribution campaign that is being waged by the Republicans to get back at everyone involved in the impeachment of their beloved president, former President Donald Trump, who is now facing 2 different indictments, one on the federal level and one on the state level. The particular cause of this censure, as it was forwarded by Representative Anna Paulina Luna from the 13th Congressional District of Florida, who is known as an extreme MAGA representative. The purpose, or rather the substance of this resolution, was the accusation that he, Adam Schiff, erroneously and intentionally defrauded the United States of America in his attempt to investigate Donald Trump. And as that attempt to investigate Donald Trump led to an impeachment, which ultimately Donald Trump survived. Now, the specifics are in regard to collusion with Russia during the 2016 campaign. Now, just a quick summary of that. We do know that Russia was heavily involved in the 2016 campaign. What was unable to be proven by the investigation headed up by Adam Schiff was that whether or not Donald Trump actively was a conspirator working with Russia actively. They were unable to prove that. And because of and honestly, I don't believe that it's because they were unable to prove it. I simply think this resolution came as a result of the fact that they had the nerve to actually investigate Donald Trump. I want to play for you a portion of Representative Luna as she tragically attempts to read her own resolution. Now, the version that I'm getting ready to play is from last week. This is not the version that passed last night, but I want you to listen to 2 things. One, the illiterate nature of the Conservative Party right now. And then 2, the fact that she was attempting to fine Adam Schiff $16 million. And it wasn't until she pulled that specific language out of it that Republicans finally agreed to censure Adam Smith. Here is Representative Luna.
Representative Schiff behaved dishonestly and dishonorably on many other occasions, including by falsely denying that his staff coordinated with a whistleblower to launch the first impeachment of President Trump. Representative Schiff recited a false concocted rendition of a phone call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, whereas Representative Schiff used his position and access to sensitive information to instigate a fraudulently based investigation, which then he used to amass political gain and fundraising dollars. Whereas the American taxpayers paid $32 million to fund the investigation into collusion that was launched as a result of Representative Schiff's lies, misrepresentations, and abuses of sensitive information. And whereas it is determined by an investigation conducted by the Committee on Ethics that Representative Schiff lied, made representations, and abused sensitive information, he should be fined the amount of $16 million.
Again, that was the voice of Anna Paulina Luna, who is the representative, the ultra MAGA representative from Florida's 13th Congressional District. I want you to listen to the sound of Adam Schiff as he responds to officially being censured by the House of Representatives.
To my Republican colleagues who introduced this resolution, I thank you. You honor me with your enmity. You flatter me with this falsehood. You, who are the authors of a big lie about the last election, must condemn the truth tellers, and I stand proudly before you. Your words tell me that I have been effective in the defense of our democracy, and I am grateful. And yet this false and defamatory resolution comes at a considerable cost to the country and to the Congress. At a moment when millions of people in our home state of California are unable to find a place to live or afford a place to live, Speaker McCarthy chooses to occupy the resources of Congress for 2 straight weeks on this hollow sop to the MAGA crowd.
Well, I'm sure Representative Schiff is aware of this, but it needs to be stated there is no limit to how far these Republicans will go to engage in their political acts of retribution. They are petty creatures by nature. Not only that, there's no limit to how much time they will spend with their agenda. Do you recall how long they spent on Benghazi, the Benghazi hearings, right? We all are fully aware of the fact that they have pushed their agenda so far that it led to January 6th. It led to an insurrection. It led to an all-out coup that's quite frankly still going on, because this act of censuring Adam Schiff is nothing more than a little piece in the puzzle that the Republicans or rather I should refer to it as the tapestry that the Republicans are assembling it for their agenda, which is to dominate the American power structure by any means necessary. And so this act of retribution that was forwarded by the representative from the 13th Congressional District of Florida, Representative Luna, this is just one step. They are not done yet. Republicans are out for blood. I mean, think about when Marjorie Taylor Greene finally got back onto a committee. The first thing that she did was try to make sure that she ousted every Democrat that stood against her. So it is a game of retribution, but it is also a game of a coordinated strategy. They are 100% executing their agenda to tilt the power structure in the United States of America completely away from democracy, not just from the Democratic Party, but from democracy itself. Take a listen in to Representative Dan Goldman as he really explains the hypocrisy. He really jumps into the hypocrisy of a party censuring Adam Schiff when they are the party of none other than George Santos.
One of my colleagues says, "We will hold members accountable." You are the party of George Santos. Who are you holding accountable? The guy is an alleged and acknowledged liar and indicted, and you protect him every day. Don't lecture us with your projection and your defense of Donald Trump. It's pathetic, and it's beneath you, and it's beneath this body, and I yield back.
Yeah, that's the energy. And I believe they need to double down on that energy because of the nature of what the Republican Party has become. They are a party of fascists. And this is just one little cog in their machine. This is just one step in their strategy. Adam Schiff, this censure is not, it's not the end of the world for Adam Schiff, but it certainly is a step towards retribution, revenge. This is what they're seeking on top of overturning our democracy. So, yeah, I think our political leaders should have a little bit more oomph in their speech and in their energy and in their clarity as they point out not only the hypocrisy, but the danger that is involved with allowing this particular batch of conservatives to maintain or gain any more power. Sad news coming in the story of the 21-foot submersible, the Titan, that was on the way to explore the Titanic at a depth of some 13,000 feet. The Coast Guard is now estimating that the oxygen has run out for the 5 individuals who were on board, and so they are now presumed to be dead. There's a lot of conversations that's going on in my particular circle of leftism that, whether or not people should be making the jokes that they're making right now. I don't really want to engage too much in that particular conversation, except to acknowledge for you all, the audience, to know that I will always side and err on the side of humanity. Now, unless I knew for a fact that those were 5 Nazis on that ship, there is a place in my heart to have concern and compassion for those individuals, despite the reality that this literally would not have happened to anyone else who is not a billionaire, who didn't have $250,000 to spend on such a risky endeavor, especially when the CEO of the company was literally bragging about the corners they cut, right? The regulations that they did not have to even adhere to. That really is a statement of the dangers of this thought that we should just do away with regulations and that everybody can figure it out for themselves and that the market is just going to work itself out. No, it won't. No, it won't, because look at what happens when you go to the extreme with that logic, or with that illogic, if you would allow me to use that phrase. But one thing I do want to talk about is now the shift to blame this on being woke, because apparently the CEO of the company said for whatever reason that he's not interested in hiring 51-year-old white men for this job or this expedition. I want to encourage everyone to really understand the times that we are in. So clearly a man, a business that is committed to deregulation and operating his company as do it yourself as possible, right? This guy was not woke. If anything, he was looking for young people to be involved so that he could probably exploit them for cheaper wages. You're not going to hire a 51-year-old white man for the same thing that you're going to hire a 19-year-old white man. Just the nature of our economic system. And I guarantee you his thoughts were not on, diversity and inclusion. His thoughts were on his bottom line, which is why, unfortunately, these people are now presumed to be dead because their time and their oxygen has run out. But I just want people to really just grasp the reality that we are dealing with some sick, twisted barbarians who have no compunction whatsoever, no hesitation, no reservation to use every single tragedy, every single death, everything that happens, if they can blame it on woke so that they can further their agenda, they absolutely will. And what is their agenda? Well, Ron DeSantis says he wants to destroy leftism and throw wokeism into the dustbin of history. Okay, so if they can continue to turn their people, or to stir their people into a frenzy and turn every single story into something that is the byproduct of being woke, then they will continue on their march towards completely and totally destroying any diversity, any inclusion, any progress, any of our civil rights. That's their goal. And they have demonstrated that there's nothing that they cannot twist into propaganda that they can use to forward their sick and twisted white supremacist agenda.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. Very special welcome to 2 new patrons. Shout out to Bobby Irvin. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. And Chronic J. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. This entire patron party is for the 2 of you. Turn it up. Turn it up. Yeah. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content, none of the commercial interruptions, and you get access to our bi-weekly patron party, which is always a blast. The family always shows up and we always have a great time. Patreon.com/The BPD Show, and we will be back right after this commercial break, unless you are a patron, of course.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Welcome back. So Robert Kennedy Jr. is all the rave this week. At least if you're an anti-vaxxer, this has been like a really good week for you because you're probably a fan of Robert Kennedy Jr. He is now going slated to be speaking at a summit that is being hosted by Moms for Liberty. And if you've listened to my show any amount of time, I've explained to you in great detail how Moms for Liberty are nothing more than political operatives disguised as soccer moms. They are the new daughters of the Confederacy, and their organization has been correctly identified by the Southern Poverty Law Center as being a hate group because, well, that's what they are. I've dealt with them on the local level as they attempted to they successfully ousted yet another black superintendent on the local level. They have ousted multiple black superintendents across the country. They are the quote unquote joyful warriors of Ron DeSantis. And this is who Robert Kennedy Jr., who is primarying Joe Biden as a Democrat. This is who he's organizing with. This is who he's going to go speak for, Moms for Liberty. Just to put a fine point on the fascism that is at the heart of Moms for Liberty, the Indiana. I'm about as bad as Congresswoman Luna, but I'm not reading. I'm freestyling. The Indianapolis Star newspaper is reporting this morning that their local chapter of Moms for Liberty utilized a quote from none other than Adolf Hitler on their social media page. I just really want to give you more details on this because when I was kind of being hyperbolic when I called them fascists because I didn't really have quite all the evidence to show that they were actual factual fascists. But now they're quoting Adolf Hitler. You could be fascist adjacent and not quite be a full-blown neo-Nazi yet. But now they're quoting Adolf Hitler. And I want to read for you from the Indianapolis Star. They said the following: the Hamilton County chapter of Moms for Liberty, a national organization recently listed as an extremist group by a civil rights watchdog, introduced its first newsletter Wednesday, The Parent Brigade. Adolf Hitler was quoted on its front cover. Just below the Parents Brigade's masthead was a quote Hitler used at a Nazi rally in 1935. Quote, "He alone who owns the youth gains the future." Now, this is even more troubling when you consider how much money Republican and conservative billionaires are pouring into new media, into YouTube, into TikTok, onto Instagram. They are pouring so much money into Turning Points USA, the organization founded by Charlie Kirk, which was really nothing more than a billionaire construct. Right? A billionaire paid this kid a lot of money to go to every single college campus that he could to start chapters. And they are successfully recruiting all of the bigoted little white kids that they can find across this country. So when you put that quote, that Adolf Hitler quote, in context of what the conservative movement is currently doing, it is even more chilling. But this also has to be brought out when we talk about this psyops of a campaign that Robert Kennedy Jr. is running to primary Joe Biden. This is the person that these red-brown coalition leftists. Now, let me slow down and just make sure everyone is up to speed on what the red-brown coalition is. That's that faction of the so-called left that has sought for a very long time to create a coalition with brown shirts, with fascists, with the Republican Party, with conservatives. It's the horseshoe theory of those people who get so lost in the plot that their ideology horseshoes them right around to being conservative fascists. There has been a coalition that has been, there has been an attempt to build that coalition for a very long time. And in the aftermath of Robert Kennedy Jr. announcing that he's running for president, all of a sudden that entire faction of my former comrades started to line up behind him. And I just want to ask all of you who are supporting RFK, do you also support Moms for Liberty? Are you comfortable with Robert Kennedy Jr. organizing and being platformed by Moms for Liberty? And if you didn't know who they were before, do you see who they are now? Have you watched their agenda? Do you see them literally quoting Adolf Hitler? These Planned Parenthood soccer mom fascists, they are the tip of the spear in this movement that is spreading around the country, that is indoctrinating an entire generation with the hate that is necessary for the South to rise again, for fascism to win, and for Christian nationalism to become the official religion of the United States of America. This is who Moms for Liberty is, and that's who Robert Kennedy Jr. is organizing with. Govern yourselves accordingly, folks. I did my best yesterday, folks. I tried my hardest to get suspended on Twitter after Elon Musk made it clear that anyone who uses cis should know that he considers it to be a slur. Cis, the Latin prefix that means on this side of, as opposed to trans, which is the Latin prefix that means on that side of. Cisgender means you are on this side of the gender spectrum, and transgender means you're on that side of the gender spectrum. We're banning Latin prefixes now, folks. So I did the best I could on Twitter yesterday. I mean, I literally called everyone cis that I possibly could, because they are. If you're not cis, you're trans. I also saw it pop up all over Instagram, and I just want to remind folks that there is a concerted effort. There is a campaign being waged, an information warfare campaign, a psychological operation being waged on everyone, and it is through social media, and it is being wielded by quote unquote black social media accounts like Hollywood Unlocked or like what's that, Baller Alert. In the comment section of Baller Alert, who shared the fact that Elon Musk is now banning the use of the word cis, he had so many black folks who are like, oh, good, because I'm not cis. You know, I'm like, huh? Now, listen, this conversation is for black folks. So all of my white supporters, I just need y'all to lay back a little bit. Let me handle. This is an in-house kind of conversation, and you guys handle your side of the conversation, because I don't need you all in. I don't need you in this part of the conversation. Love you. Mean it. But I am so sick and tired of black folks who fall in line with fascism because of their homophobia. Like, do you really hate gay stuff that much that you're going to line up with these Nazis? That you're just going to co-sign? Or, because I don't, maybe you don't know what cis actually means. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe cis, and this is really one of my working theories, I think that a lot of people are offended by the word cis because it sounds too much like sissy. And I know it seems like really juvenile, but we're talking about human beings in the year of our Lord 2023. I wonder how many of them were offended by it, not knowing that it was a Latin prefix, not knowing what it meant, but they said, cis, I'm not cis, I'm a man. I am so sick and tired of seeing anybody, but especially my folks, black folks, fall into the arms of racists and fascists because you don't like that gay stuff. My God, folks. And then some of these folks, both black and white and every other race and ethnicity in between, some of these folks are happily going down this path towards violence against the LGBTQIA community because they are just that committed in their homophobia. Have you seen the latest protests in Glendale, California? Those quote unquote parents who showed up to, and I gotta play the clip, and I have to play it unedited. So trigger warning if you're around kids, content warning more specifically. The clip I'm getting ready to play is full of expletives. I'm going to get flagged on all of my platforms, but I need you to hear what these so-called concerned parents of Glendale, California really sound like when they showed up to protest against Pride Month. Listen to the deeply seated hatred and misogyny that is coming from these people that some of my black folks are lining up with because you don't like that gay stuff.
I got my screen. You ain't got shit, bitch. Get the fuck away. Get the fuck away. Get the fuck away. Bitch, get the fuck away. Yeah, that's for me. Get the fuck away. Bitch, you fucking queer. Fuck all you motherfuckers. Fuck you. Do something. You come here. Come here. Come here. Fucking queer. Hey.
That's Glendale, California, yesterday, as these anti-LGBTQ concerned parents. First of all, I didn't see a single child on that side of the protest line. I didn't see a single spouse, unless all of those guys were gay. I didn't see a single spouse, so I'm not sure how they are concerned parents. And then 2, did you hear the hatred, the bigotry, the misogyny, the violence that is at the core of these men? And if you saw the video, every single one of them looked like they've sexually assaulted someone in the past. I guarantee you there is sexual assault in these men's history. Some of them probably have sexually assaulted children. So I just want folks to really be aware of who you are aligning with when you are so committed to your homophobia that you just, I can't stand that gay stuff. You know who can't stand you? The very people that you're aligning with, the people that you are marching side by side with. In your attempt to outlaw someone's right to marry another man, or a woman's right to marry another woman, or someone's right to transition, in your efforts to outlaw that, you are empowering people who will lynch you as soon as they get a chance to. Govern yourselves accordingly.
Pretty white TT, pretty white TT, pretty white TT, pretty white TT. Pretty white TT, pretty white TT.
Ron DeSantis is on his nationwide tour running for president. He was in San Francisco, or was it San Diego? I'm not sure, but he was in California yesterday and he put out this video. Listen to him.
Look around, the city is not vibrant anymore. It's really collapsed because of leftist policies, and these policies have caused people to flee this area. They don't prosecute criminals like they do in most parts of the country, and the wreckage has really been sad to see. And so I've seen so many businesses boarded up. I've seen so much riffraff just running around, and it just shows you these policies matter. Leadership matters. They are doing it wrong here.
I wonder if Ron DeSantis has been to Jacksonville, Florida lately. You know, just 3 hours east of Tallahassee. It's not far. I'm sure he could have gotten there to see how much homelessness and how much poverty and just everything that he described in that video could be applied to Jacksonville, Florida. And that's just Jacksonville. Go up and down the panhandle. Let's go down to South Florida so you can see exactly how desperate the situation is in the state of Florida. But that doesn't matter because, well, that's not really how political campaigns work in America. And that's not how propaganda works. Clearly, he's not going to highlight the problems that are happening in his own state. The fact that hundreds of thousands of Floridians have been kicked off of Medicaid because of Ron DeSantis. The fact that so many Floridians are unable to get access to any health care whatsoever because of Ron DeSantis. The fact that there's homelessness like I have not seen in such a long time. I mean, no, ever. I've never seen the level of homelessness that I have seen throughout the state of Florida since I've been back in the state. And this is all a reality that's happening every single day. Yet he wants to go to California and complain about the homelessness over there. No, y'all are twinsies. Y'all are like BFFs. But that, you know, of course, this is probably the most immaterial segment that I will ever do because literally he doesn't care. The leadership throughout the state of Florida, they clearly don't care. Republicans, no, of course they don't care. That's the point. The point is to point out problems that are existing in Democratic cities, though the problem is even worse in Republican cities because, well, they're able to leverage that to gain the momentum that they need. When you talk about violence, they always point to Chicago, but the truth of the matter is Mobile, Alabama is worse than Chicago. But they're not going to tell you that. Why? Because they don't really care about the problems in these cities. They only care in so much as they can leverage it for more political power, and the power that Ron DeSantis, who is beloved by Moms for Liberty, by the way, the power that he is seeking is the White House, the presidency. And he is by far the greatest threat to our democracy because Donald Trump is just too stupid to actually execute a strategy. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, he's patient enough to wait for his pudding. You know, he's not, sorry. He's patient enough to wait to execute his strategy, which makes him a greater threat, which makes this election critical. Govern yourselves accordingly. Patrons, stay tuned. Everyone else, we'll see you tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com facebook.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.